Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me. Polina here, talking to you a little bit about this mighty new moon happening in Scorpio. It is going to be on the 13th of November, and wow, there are lots of people just losing curiosity, losing interest, not being very curious about how to do things the long way. Rabbit is conscious, dragon is unconscious. So we're in the last phase of rabbit and we're going into dragon. So what is basically going to be is good, solid, nice people helping each other along. Sure, things are done the long way around. Sure, they're a little bit too wholesome to be funny or ecstatic, but there's this other feeling, this other side of life, and it takes maturity to really know how to spend it. So for example, having a good amount of money takes maturity to know how to invest it or spend it. Having a lot of power, having a great business idea will take the long way sometimes, and people are not curious now. We have Mars next to the sun and the moon, and Mercury's in front. It's like, yeah, look, I get it. I just want to do this. I want to do what I want to do. I am who I am, and I don't care about the long term repercussions. So if you're looking at the news today also, in terms of the conflict in the Middle East as well, you'll see what I mean when people are just saying, yeah, like just let me do this because I know what I'm doing, and like stop telling me what to do. So this is what basically is at the crux of this, which is happening in the world as well. And it can also be part of the individual psyche. It's like, leave me alone. Yeah, mom. Yeah, I know how boring. I want to be who I am, and I want to be free. And I touched a little bit about, on the topic of war, and I did touch a little bit on different groups and philosophies made by certain, I suppose, tribes or ways in the world. And it is probably a wake-up call to me because some of this choice is entirely tribal. You can't tell me what to do. You don't know who I am. You don't know what it's like for me. That kind of thing is happening basically all the time, and it's anywhere. So the dragon year is trying to be reborn and refurbished. People are going to do it their own way, and I don't want to necessarily push my philosophies onto anybody or my way of interpreting the sky, but I'll tell you this thing. We're going to have to do this over and over again. Some of this which people want to do that is very outrageous, very flamboyant, and very ambitious, they'll have to repeat that pattern. They'll have to circulate around these people. They'll have to give up a lot to get that idea done, or they'll have to help a lot of people, or do a lot of errands. They'll have to use a lot of money or use a lot of finesse in order to be able to withstand the test of time. It is very unlikely that some of these very high flying ideas will work for the betterment of anybody because they are heavy and clunky. So this is the first breath of dragon in a sense. So rabbit is all about poise, care, being careful with your words, being careful with your spirit, being very careful with your body, being very caring to other people, having your say, but also hearing what another person says. It is about retention. It's about retaining energy. Maybe it is about playing it safe. And yeah, the glamour of it, though, overweighs what is safe. I don't care about what is safe. I want to live now. So this is when we have a lot of unrobust behavior. We have people crying, where, mommy, why did this happen to me? We see people do this all the time. Every day you see this. People are stepping on a trap knowingly that it is their choice, and then having to go and cry on somebody else's shoulder. And usually the persons that are that shoulder are very good, humble people that don't really have anything else to really do sometimes because their life is organized enough not to be in crisis. So this is not about controlling, this is just about understanding and recognizing. Are you the empath? Are you constantly trying to help somebody heal? Are you constantly putting your work on the back burner? You're not maybe developing enough or sufficiently because you have another friend and another friend and another friend is always going into the fire, making bad decisions, and then having to come back home to somebody. Maybe the parents are no longer available, but you might be one of those friends that keeps on allowing somebody else to, sleep in your house, eat your food, stick around because maybe you are bored or helpless and a little bit too safe for your own good sometimes, or you are allowing other people to take something from you. So this is also, I suppose, about the Palestinian and Israeli conflict. I'm sorry to drop that. Taking something that is not yours to take. So it's kind of like somebody comes in and just takes all of that you have. It's like, well, and the person is underdeveloped. And sometimes you'll see that people that are narcissists or that have very, very egoic and very powerful and pushy behavior don't really have a lot in the background. They don't have a history. They don't have a root system. They don't have a real concept of ideals. They haven't worked it out the slow way. They haven't allowed a slow burning sensitive reality. And then we have people that are not sure of themselves because they didn't jump up or they didn't do anything. They didn't progress or project themselves. They just kept on learning from the base, from the root system. So, half and half. Sometimes there is a certain person that wants to jump up there and grab at anything, and they're an opportunist, and they have a mission, and they have a way of controlling life for that split moment while not actually considering other people. And then there are the people that are a little too slow, and maybe they're a little backwards, but they usually have what it takes. Or maybe, they were wronged before, but they forgot. So maybe this is about strength and weakness. And I do understand how some people need to take initiative and be that guy, be that person or that lady. And for certain people, there's not going to be enough of that. So this kind of is sort of slowly measured. By and by, we have to sort of, I suppose, learn to see the situation slowly and allow the fragile to be the fragile and allow the unmoving to be unmoving. There are certain types of risks that people are taking during these years that are phenomenal, extraordinary risks. There are people not being able to survive a certain catastrophe, or there's lots of us asking or wondering, like, where did we go wrong? Like, why did this look so good on paper before, or it's not now? How come I don't have any rights here? Also, it's about paperwork for some people. It's about having like a wholesome, normal, simple, lawful way of life. And in some cases, like, I don't care what you say, I do what I want. Now, this is not a good thing. And that person will come back crying to mama because that's just not what it is. This has no root system. The philosophy is false. And sometimes some far-fetched ideas are based on social media. They're based on what other people are doing these days. It's like, I want to be a winner. I want to do what that girl's doing online. I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to live in flying color. And then also, like, the other side of dragon, which is coming next year, is authenticity and staying authentic while also having needs and wants and drama and fears and sexuality and the need to succeed. All of this stuff is kind of also like willy-nilly. I mean, to be able to succeed, well, we're all going for our own thing. Sometimes it is an individual choice based on individual presets, where you're from, where you live, what is the cultural, religious, or traditional background of who you are, where you're from. That usually solves almost anything. But then also we have like all these flying high ideas, these far-fetched designs, and what is normal for other people, we want normal for us. We see people on TV who think that's who we are, or that's how we're gonna be soon. And people are imitating others, but also they're not wanting to be vulnerable, being who they are. And they may be not necessarily asking for help, but wanting to equate and be equal to something that they're not equal to. And they will not be able to really survive that equation. For example, now asking for money, funding, for power or support, not everybody can afford later on in time. It's like the check will come in the mail. Someone will tap you on the shoulder and be like, pay up. So this is something that we need to understand. For example, cracking into your savings, using all that money, having no real true money source, also like having no friends or family that can help you out later, having bad contracts with people, having a bad reputation, having people turn away from you. Reputation, we still need to work this out. Rabbit here, reputation, being well off, having a nice and cultured past, being seen as a good person, being invited, being included, and being invested in over time. It's not about just going to the bank, getting that loan, lying what that loan is for, you know. So a lot of people are very pretentious also at the moment, and they're wanting these big things, these bulky ideas, these cash prizes, or these giant versions of themselves out now. They don't care. They don't care about the political arena. They don't care about their friendships or their groups. They don't care about what is going on in their life or the world or the greater universe. They want it. Want. You know, so this is another side that is kind of unattractive, and Scorpio is going to bring it out. I want you. I need you. Or like, I want this so bad. All of this wanting and wishing and not wanting to really think about what you are doing or thinking or feeling is something that is not going to work later in the year, let alone years. You know, so what I'm kind of like seeing is a lot of people have these gut feelings and emotions, and it might feel so real. Like, that's my soulmate. Or like, wow, this is my land. This is my fate. And it feels so strong that nobody can oppose you. And talking about this for a while also, I suppose even back with the previous moon, we have this Mars and Mercury tracing the sun, and we have a lot of people wishing for that which they could have, would have, should have done. And there was a lot of wrong in the past, there was a lot of regret, and the rabbit here, as it did have a sort of a dark night of the soul aspect to itself. And now maybe a lot of it is healthier and more refined, and now people are like, yeah, hell's yes. You know, it's like praying for God to help them. And then the minute you have a little bit, like a little bit of power, a little bit of money, go spend it all at once and do whatever you want. You know, so this is like where we have very orchestrated and very surreal decision making that can be seen already in the world on a global arena and maybe in your own life. Sometimes you're talking to a person, maybe this is coming over you now, and people are telling you about their lives. I've got like somebody like that in my life at the moment. I got actually a fair few people like that at the moment. They're telling me about their lives, and what really strikes you in these conversations sometimes is like the surreality of what a choice that person made. So they're telling you about how things went wrong and, you know, like what has happened to them, and then suddenly they say, well, actually I did that and I thought it was all right. Like, I thought it was okay, for example, to take advantage of a vulnerable person, you know? I thought it was okay to make money from a questionable industry such as the porn industry, or like, I thought it was fine to just spend all that money on that. Like, this is when you basically squint like this, and that is right. So there's a lot of squinting happening also the week before and the week after as we are going through Scorpio. This squinting is like, whoa, like this is out of, like this is shameful, this is painful to hear. You know, sometimes you might have a friend or you hear something on the news and you're like, oh, and there's like a knowledge, there's a knowledge bank that we all connected to at the moment, and it's about the father and the mother wounds for some, and for certain people it's about their tribe and their strategy as a growth. It's not about you just like this guy or this girl doing your thing. There is a certain tribal sustenance, and some people are really in between themselves and other tribes. Like, well, I know who I am, but I want to be like that chick over here. Like, sure, like I live in Saudi Arabia, but I want to repeat the patterns of that guy over there who lives in Australia. It won't ever work. You know, it won't work. So we have to really be humble and question what are the infrastructures and the root systems given to a person, and what is their decision making pattern like. But you know, here I'm hearing a lot of people going, "Oh, I'm bored." How boring! And also because we think we are boring. And this is where we have cosmetic surgery. This is where we have crazy psychotic politicians. This is where we have a lot of just, wow, how does this happen in life? Like, why is this happening in the world? How is this possible? And why? One of the reasons, because we don't want things to be what they are. We'll blow them out of proportion and pretend we're innocent because there is something wrong with the program. And a lot of people feel incredibly bored, lost, and insecure about their actual heritage, about their truth, about their history, and just about who they are in the world actually. If you look at their life, if you research a person's life and you get to know them through like a certain pattern that they have created. And I'm learning to understand this and not take it to heart if I talk to people about their organic patterns. Like, I don't want my chart to say that. And it's like, yeah, well, your chart says this. And no, like, it's like people don't like it when they're faced with themselves. It's like people feel that there is no meaning in who they are, where they're from, and they're wanting to do things that are very extroverted and are very, very actually also kind of boring for other people, because there is an innocence in it. But at the same time, there is ruckus and there is annoyance that a person can bring to another if they're acting out of proportion. So, for example, a child jumping up and down, telling their elders who they are and what to do, gets really annoying. So there's like this kind of feeling of wanting to discipline this child because, it's not easy. So there's a lot of this happening, maturity, and voices that are coming through people sometimes are incredibly immature and also innocent. And what I can say is just the power and the grace given. Maybe some people have started to outstay their welcome. Maybe there are certain pride and certain state of respect that is going to be not given. And I feel that the boat also has sailed or is sailing along. So what I mean here is the boat. If you can imagine Noah's Ark, sure, you can imagine that. People have gotten to know themselves in the rabbit year. They have reduced themselves down to size. They recognize what the ego is. They recognize what the problem is. People did a lot of self-healing during this year. Some people had to become very fine-lined and humble about their finances, about their spending, about the world, about the state of their life and global affairs. People had to come back down to size and have some respect also, and try to grow or gain where they need to grow and gain. Like, for example, getting a better home, having a better vision, having a more hygienic and more soft and caring life, having more educated and more humble ways. So that's been, and now this is kind of growing into a certain respectable container, and the boat has sailed, meaning when we are here, people have been already kind of seen for who they are. Some people have been blessed to enter a new territory, because Rabbit was about territories, and it still kind of is, and maybe by some miracle it still works, but maybe not for everybody. People changing from a bad neighborhood to a good neighborhood, people changing and being seen like for their gifts and their knowledge and their learnings, people being accepted into very good study programs in universities, people being accepted into a greater state of privilege through their know-how, through their credentials, through their personalities, through other opportunities that they also give other people. And now that boat is kind of sealed, and it's going. So the boat is sailing. And for a lot of people, the boat has sailed. And that's where we get the psychotic feelings. For example, your ex is not answering the messages now. Like, they've grown a good root system in Rabbitier. They've done a lot of self-searching, and they recognize they should have cut you off years ago. That boat is sailing off. And that's how we get a lot of psychosis. Please pay attention to extremes, like people yelling, raising their voice, people being very argumentative about their territories and who they are and their keepsakes and their ownership and their rights. So all of this incredible institutionalized also knowledge base, and people deciding and dividing and being so very crafty and angry and frightened, all of this energy, all this anger also that we see on the news, it is not becoming. It has no culture, it has no tribal root system, it has no real power or presence, and it doesn't have any meaning. But now people going into court, arguing, presenting paperwork, being very mean, trying to push and rush and break through and push in front of people, or push someone out of the way because they want something for themselves. Now, this is where we see things scatter. It's kind of like a dog fight. Sorry, it doesn't have enough finesse, it doesn't have enough poise, it doesn't have enough universal, local, or historical meaning, because the root system doesn't exist. There is no history, and there is no real turning of events that will probably present that whippersnapper energy, a sudden prize. Sure, wow, yeah, you deserve this. Okay, cool. So the people that have no tribe, no consciousness, and no real belonging to anybody or anything, they don't necessarily have that chance that they believe they should have, and that they're breathing fire for. Hey, do you know who I am? Why don't you respect me? That kind of thing. It doesn't really have any place, because everything has been compact. Anything, even with a root system that was damaged for thousands of years, has found its way. This is the miracle of rabbit here. Even though it was kind of boring, the root systems are in their place. These could be ethnic, national root systems. These could be personal root systems. Why do you do what you do? Why do you live your life? How come you are you? What makes your body healthy? What makes your business great? What makes you survive? What makes you belong? That's been well done. That's been cooked. That's been cleaned. That's been managed. So all of that is managed. And now whoever's out there yelling and screaming and making a do will not grow. And usually this is really good to see also what part of you wants something to an extreme. If there is a certain racist personality trait suddenly, or a certain disgruntled personality trait, that's the weak part. Wanting to come in all guns a-blazing, wanting to present as somebody else, wanting to be extraordinary and phenomenal. It's like screaming at the boat that has sailed. On that boat is success. On that boat is undoubtful peace. There are some people that now know, holy moly, probably I'm the first one in my family tree for the last 600 years that has presented themselves with a little pocket of peace that I can gently nurture and believe and grow into. So these pockets of peace, like for example, you have your life, you're not like anybody else. You're living a good life. You're experiencing wealth, health, and abundance. You are growing, you are nurturing, and you don't need to respect or disrespect anybody specific to be able to, do your thing. You have yourself. That means you're an adult, you're a full quantum. Maybe it's religious, maybe it's spiritual, maybe it's tribal, maybe it's traditional, maybe it's just natural. You've grown who you are, and you now have an aura of wealth, health, and prosperity that doesn't need screaming. You don't need yelling. You don't need tugging. You don't need bodybuilding. You don't need fear. You don't need like extremes. You don't even need social media. You don't need kind of like probably anybody to grow you, because you have already balanced as this presence. And that's not to be undermined. A great presence, and then that's where we are, that's where it's at. And then all of this other screaming, yelling, holding people back, holding people forward, hostage, whatever, all of that, it means nothing, because it is immature. It's immature, and it's diseased, it is mentally ill, it's demographically incorrect. We're going to really see this happen a lot in the world. People spun out, and this is not just in your neighborhood or your territory, it's everywhere, because it's a certain type of energetic and emotional poverty. It's poverty of spirit, poverty of stamina, poverty, having no security, having nobody to really help, having nobody to really do anything in your name, on that person's name, or no protection, having no way out. Also, insecurity. Why poverty? Why? It's not just about money. It's not about money. It's not about the wealthy. It's not about anybody stealing anybody's shit. It's not about. It's about having no source energy, having no religion or relationship to source, to God, that can fulfill oneself, having no real truth, having no connection to this actual planet, having no history as well. having no dialect or having no context, having no way to evolve also. We have to see that as well. This can be happening on any personal or even national, international level. And we have to breathe through it and basically see where we are fine, you know? And yeah, it's like using makeup, you know, to create a completely different look, you know. Yeah, I have small mouth, I have a small nose, okay, my eyes, okay, my eyebrows, okay, good enough for me, that's how God made me. But people are making a certain disrespect towards themselves and what is natural and nurturing in life. So, just like for many reasons, many people, it's not going to be still until it's chaos. And this is something that I've seen for many people. They want to experience an extreme, they want to experience violence or some kind of disease in order to eventually have peace. It's kind of like the calm before the storm, but this is like the calm after the storm. And I see that being very, very disrespectful to nature, to who we are as people, and then using these light and dark energies and using possession or using obsession, using war, using crime, using all of this, using loud words, negative energies to breathe fire and to be somebody at least today. I was nobody, now I'm at least somebody. That kind of thinking. And then we basically have to start to close the gate. So, as I said, the boat has sailed. People already did it. It doesn't look like they did it, but they did it. So, rabbit is underground. It's the inner work. It's already done. So, it's like your savings account's looking good, you know, your home's looking good, your relationship's looking good. All of those holes, all those gaps have been filled. It's fine. That's not something that sometimes people are happy enough with. And you don't maybe know the treasure that you have created during the rabbit year until it's time. It's like I didn't really care, but wow, I had that prepared. Wow, I had this prepared. Actually, don't worry, I've got enough savings to last me a year. I don't care. Like, so there is like a very, very nice and deep sincerity that we need. And maybe you apologize to oneself or other people for disrespecting or discounting their wins, even though for many people there's no sugarcoating it. And rabbit, they're pretty innocent wins. They're little tiny small things that can happen sometimes, just about poison, finesse, and having a better designed wardrobe or just like a greater life. And sure, maybe to some people it is stupid, but it lasts and lasts and lasts and lasts and lasts. But it's just kind of niche. It's like small and it's very comfortable. And either way, whether you're a fighter or a lover, comfortable energy is always going to help you achieve those states of grace. So yeah, sure, it's a new moon, so it is new endeavors. If you are doing a lot, if you're putting a lot of meaning into something, if you're spending an incredible amount of energy or money for something, if you're doing something very, 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 very significant to you during this time, either you lost your light, you're imitating, or you've imitated somebody else for long enough to think this is what you are, or you don't have something, you're trying to compensate, or it is a regression into a previous, or maybe even like a backwardly a future version of you. Could also be a grandparent or parent or another energy that has tried to make you into that, even though you weren't that. So, how to see this new moon in Scorpio, especially also with this Mars and opposition to Uranus and Jupiter in a sense, honestly, it's not necessarily good what you're doing. You know, innovation and wisdom and Taurus in the opposite side. It's not necessary. Not necessary. Most looking good, crazy crafted careers have already been made and designed. Most things have already been placed. And what basically to be on the new moon, like, but who am I? Who am I? Like all of this stuff happening, especially for the younger audience, maybe potentially. People want to be respected with North Node Chiron conjunction with Eris there as well. Eris confidence, Chiron expertise, and Aries. You know, people want to be not nervous about what they're doing. They're like, hey, check out my portfolio. Look at my life. Isn't it amazing? People need also you to see maybe that which they are, and they're all kind of sharing their portfolios or messages to try to speak out. And okay, there are some unnurtured egos and all of that questionable stuff. questionable stuff. You know, it's like having a house full of crap. It's questionable things, questionable words being spoken, questionable drawings, questionable ideas, questioning. We are here. If you are really thinking, how do I get to the truth? Because a lot of this energy that we have in the sky is about being true, with this aspect between also, I suppose, Mercury and Saturn. You know, there is a truthfulness that we need to kind of get to. We need to get to the bottom of this. And some people are like, yeah, I don't care. I'm the winner. Yes, that's my truth. Yeah, like I've never been a winner and today I'm going to be the winner. So, like, also people being very slapdash about their results, and it's very unbecoming. So, like, the reason why I'm basically also, like, I suppose, holding the space now, you know, like, reading for you is because I also want to recognize the truth more, you know, and this is when the fine lines and details are important. This is exquisite. These items in my home, I have many these days. I don't need half of them. Give them out. Only use the most exquisite items in your home. You know, also if you know taste and pleasure and how well things are made, like I have 4 different essential oils. Only one of them is actually of really good quality. Should I have all 4? Maybe I can give the 3 away and just have a very good essential oil. I know, like, how can you solve world problems with this kind of like woman logic? Well, let's do it. Anything you've got going on, anything you have going on in your life, it just needs to be seen, observed, tasted, smelt, and felt. A lot of Scorpio is about the sense of stillness, also about gut and knowing and feeling, and, you know, like having a fight, having a fright. Oh my God, I didn't do this. Okay, not many people can handle. Some very, very realistic people are going to come up on top. Look, okay, here's your life, figure it out. You know, like things like good decision making, you know, using good reputable banks to store your money. I don't know. Public psychology, how do you act in front of people? Also deciding if you've made some mistakes before, people made some mistakes before with you. Some people can actually take a step back and just use cancel thoughts for everything. Okay, that person didn't say that, I didn't like that which they said. That person keeps on pushing me around. No, no, no. I don't want to be here. No, I'm not going to visit this place again. I bought this thing from the shop, not going to go to the shop. You know, like cancel. And I know it sounds very fussy and maybe like, what? Not well to do. It's about flicking things away that you simply don't want to have in your life. And sometimes it's really hard. It's like, I have a big problem. How can I flick that away? It's like, well, that big problem came out of lots of small details. It's like, for example, heartburn and gastrointestinal problems. There's very logistic problems, fiery problems that are coming through with this Mars and Scorpio. Very likely people have like heartburn or something like hot in their body. Um, you ate a lot of something. Yeah, you ate a lot of something, like you ate a lot of cheese and bacon. That's why you got heartburn, okay? Little pieces of cheese and bacon, a lot of little pieces of it. And then now you have a separation from your body, you have a separation from source. Due to having gastrointestinal problems. They don't just like come to you, I have this big bulky problem. This bulky problem can get solved in little ways, like little cups of water and maybe, I don't know, like a lemon detox, you know, something like that. There's lots of different people doing small things to fix really bad problems. And a lot of it is about fire, it's about feist. Or sometimes people have problems that have come from their mother's or father's side, and it could also be problems, for example, from botched surgeries and things like that. That could come out during this time here. So it's just about a slow, simple, like a slow cooking method as to how to work out of these different issues and problems and not have to be in a line of fire, not having to be in danger, not having to put all that money on blackjack, not having to invest your time into racist, scary, fiery, phenomenalizing, violent people. Seeing violence as a maturity, not violence as something that can hurt you. The violent person, violence is a sign of incredible depression and not knowing where one is and what one is doing. It's a compact sort of like fear And violence comes from fear, and it doesn't know where to go, and then starts like pushing because it is sad and it is karmic and it doesn't have its own train of thought. It is not respectful of itself, and it doesn't realize what is back then and what is now. And that is how come future is blocked. So usually violent people don't think about the future full-heartedly. They just want to be in the now because their past is full of shame and heartache. So what to really wear, what to do, how to present yourself in the world if you have a lot of anger and violence. And some people, yeah, fake it till you make it type of psychology. And I do understand. And we have Lilith and Virgo. Not many people can get away with faking it. Everybody knows. But if you do like to, you can present, even though now it's late. The boat has sailed. People have already worked it out. Most grand investors, most people that work in politics, people that work with real like trends and fashion or work with real success, people that work with something real have already worked it out. They don't need that power. They don't need to feed on a little battery that's just like pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. They don't value that anymore. They don't want that. So a lot of people that thought I'd get by on my looks, I'd get by on my power, I'd get by on my wealth, I get a part of the pie if I look interested, if I look good, I'll get somewhere I want to be while I'm also feeling silent but also angry about it. All of this uncooked energy, also being like a daughter or a son to somebody else who's paying for you and who is studying you and now getting it like, wow, that's kind of mean. Why did I do this to myself? Why am I supporting like a broke or undeveloped person? There's lots of people like that, and religion sometimes condones it as well. There's also the other side, wanting to be mommy or daddy to somebody, so you feel cultured and you feel accepted and you feel respected. That's also going to shut down. A lot of it is shutting down. Nature is not having it anymore. Also, natural disasters, all that stuff. My gosh. We don't want to play these games, okay? So like there's a lot of people that really maybe don't want to see you for either being very immature and flabbergasting or trying to drink all the energy as the mother or father of the group, you know, not being on equal terms and not having your head on straight, your hat on straight, not having enough significance in the story, but simply wanting to be in that story, you know, putting your money on blackjack constantly, trying to invest in something that has absolutely no standing, wanting to be places where you're not invited. All of this really out of place, insignificant lives are made from shitty decision making, and part of this shitty decision making, being offbeat and kind of random and not really wanted somewhere but wanting to be there and not having any root system but fighting for your rights there, it doesn't make any sense. It's insignificant, has nothing to say, has nothing to teach us anymore. You know, looking good in front of someone that doesn't necessarily want to support you, you know, trying to make friends with somebody who is just like, honestly, it's like landing on deaf ears. It's just like, yeah. And now we basically have to find a way to self-suffice. Maybe, yeah, you can do it whatever way. But yeah, the hint is it is in the quality of things, it is in the contrast between things, it is in the quiet mission. It's not in anything loud or apprehensive, because that's not going to be supported by many people, and that might not stay to see another day. High-flying results which you cannot support, unsustainable futures. So that's all happening today. Anyway, thank you very much. I hope this has been interesting, and I will see you with another video soon. And yes, check out the caption below. Maybe it'll have some interesting info for you in case you're curious and wondering what I'm up to. Thank you. Bye.